Hello, my name is Matthew Chesner, White Tiger Qigong instructor. Today, we will be speaking about important fundamentals of Qigong and the stances. The stance we do today is the bow stance, Gongpo. So the word stance implies standing or a very static idea, not static. The stance is the distribution of weight, the way that the architecture of the skeleton and then the musculoskeletal and neurology and all the other functions happen in these stances. They have a great utility, a stance. So let's talk about standing as if we're from the ground up, which many of these stances are. So if you're sitting down, you can remain seated. If you're standing, you can sit down or remain standing. What we're going to do with the feet is we're going to engage the feet by lifting the arches slightly, not grabbing the toes, but lifting the arches. In order to do this, you have to be having either very thin-soled shoes or barefoot, but not running shoes or boots, because even if it feels nice to be grounded into the earth, you can't use this. So the lifting of the arches and the pulling up of the soles of the feet, which is the bubbling springs, Yongchuan, is very important to draw this up. Very much as if you're holding a beach ball in your hand. You can't grab it, because if you grab it, it will just drop. It's quite important to have this suction, suspended feeling. So with that in mind, let's stand up and construct the Gongpo. Gongpo, the bow stance. I will be facing on a 45-degree angle so that you can see the opening and also the weight distribution. You will be doing it facing me for the moment, just to make sure you'll be facing front, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so what we're going to do is the weight distribution is basically 80-20 or 75-25, if you will, with the weight on the front foot. Now, if you notice, at the moment, my knee, the tibia, is straight over the heel. This is just structural, don't practice, just look at the structure. Directly here, coming into the thigh, and the tailbone is down. So we're not pitching forward, and we're certainly not tucking under. If we're tucking under, then we can't straighten the back leg. So we have our weight distribution 75-25-ish. The hips are facing directly front. So if you're facing me, your hips will be facing directly front as if you had headlights. Shoulders, the chest, the hips. We're not twisted in any way, completely in one direction. The purpose of Gongpo in many other forms is a forward trajectory. It's moving forward. It is a forward thrust, even if you're not moving. So we have our structure here with this stability here, the hips very square, and the back heel pressing into the earth. You notice that my back foot is not out, as I would be in either a hero stance or other things, because the hips are completely to the side and we're pressing. If you were pressing into the hips, the strength is in the pelvis. This is the basic structure of Gongpo. Don't worry, we'll get there. On the other side, the exact same thing. The hips completely front, not bowing in the back, zipped up in the front, open in the chest, shoulders, chest, hips in one line. Now the feet are not like along a beam, so they're not one foot directly in front of the other because there's no stability there. We do have the width of the legs is just the same width of the shoulders, so we're not open, so we're not spread open this way. We're exactly the distance of the hips. So the hips, chest, shoulders, like a train, because Gongpo is a forward motion. Now, how do we build this? One of the most significant things that we need to have for the Gongpo is some of the flexibility across the front of the hip flexors, which we get in all these different stretches that we do to stretch all this out. But what we're going to do now is try to get some extension in the ankle, what we call dorsiflexion. As strange as it seems, one of the most significant exercises for all of these stances is with your feet completely parallel to the degree of possible. I will face slightly on an angle, and you slide your hands straight down your thighs, completely straight down, and you flat back. You put your weight on your hands just above your knees. Notice that I'm not rounded, okay? And I have my weight on my hands. And then I'm going to slide my hands down to the top of my shins. My pelvis is sinking. And to the degree of possible, I'm going to put my hands on my feet. And then we're going to put the weight on the floor. So it's not all about hamstring stretches. And we're going to try to allow the pelvis to sit down, straight down. And what we now have is the flexion in the hips and the dorsiflexion of the ankles. And then if we just lift up very slightly, we're suspending our weight. So we're not squatting down, we're holding. This strength in the pelvic floor, in the hips, in the knees, and in the ankles is exactly the strength that we're going to be using in the Qigong. If your hips don't allow you to do that, you can turn your feet out slightly or even put them on a bit of a board. The heels are slightly so elevated and we can go down. But the idea is to squat. Doesn't sound very elegant, and it's not. But what's important is this dorsiflexion of the feet, which will allow us the pressure into the front leg, and above all, the stretch in the Achilles, which then allows the stretch in the front of the hips. So if you can put your feet out a little bit slightly, slide your hands down, keep the weight on the hands, and you're squatting. Not very elegant, who cares? And we're gonna go a little bit further down, and eventually, if you can, put your feet onto the floor. And if your feet are a little bit out, that's still okay. You're still getting the stretch in the Achilles and still getting the stretch, but what we don't want to do is cave the knees in. So that's why I have my hands on the inside of my thighs to prevent an internal collapse here. And if this is challenging for you, then stay further up. But what's important is the stability. And if you're down here and this is easy for you, then what you're going to do is pick up the pelvic floor this much and lift and hold that nice and easy. This stability and coming up. So that dorsiflexion of the ankle and that stability in the hips is the crux of the stability in Qigong. So the back foot, let's talk about the back foot. The outside edge of the foot is a very important part to dig into the ground, because if we're up on the back of the heel this way, we're getting a stretch along the front, but we're not grounded into the floor. Very much so. So if your hips allow you to be in a deeper stance like this, this is all fine. But still, the hips are in one direction, the chest is in one direction, and the shoulders. And from here, you need to be able to lift up, which is why in these positions, I'm encouraging you to lift up. So we're not standing down. We're engaged, and from this point, we can move. This is the demonstration. Let's build it. Feet completely parallel, rocking back onto the heels, open out 45 degrees, lift up the heels, and come down. Slide the hands along the thighs, bend the knees, open the back, weight on the hands. Bend a little bit more, slide your hands down, and if you can, with your knees nice and bent so there's not a big hamstring stretch, place your hands on the floor, and to the degree that's possible, sink the hips down. And if it stops there, then you can open the knees out a little bit, but keep the arms inside so you can sit right the way down. Now you're opening your hips and you're stretching the front of the ankles. Now if you're down there, lift up the pelvic floor and come up 2 inches. So you're holding the weight. You can be in this position, lock your hands, whatever you want to do. But you're holding the weight underneath. You can put your hands on your knees and press up, or you can just lift up from there. Now the reason why I have us holding up is so that in this position, with the proper distribution of the feet, the hips completely front, the chest front, and the shoulders front, that you have a lift in the body. So the weight is sinking, lifting in the body, and that allows you to move, because Qigong is a forward moving stance. So let's practice. Opening out, up, down, sit. Tailbone goes down, tailbone goes down. If you need to open your feet, do. Sit on the floor, right the way down. Now lift up your perineum, lift it up, and hold. Put your hands on your knees, or come up straight, and turn the feet parallel. Now we're going to put one foot out completely behind and press the back heel into the floor. And the front knee goes forward. Everything. So put your hands on your hips and look straight out. The hips are going forward. The chest is going forward. The shoulders are going forward. And the back presses into the front leg. You see the vertical nature of my tibia, shin bone to the back, the foot in, the back edge of the foot down, And you are now in Gongpo. Come up, nice relax, and go to the other side. Turn the feet out, open up, right the way down, bend the back. Put the hands on the floor, and if you need to open your thighs a little bit, keep your hands inside the knees and down, tailbone down. Pick up the pelvic floor, don't pull up on the knees, and suspend your weight. Put your hands on your knees, or don't, and rise up. Stepping the front knee directly over, the tibia directly over, and put your hands on your hips and look straight out. Hands on your chest and straight out, shoulders straight out. Back foot in, pushing in, the back knee is completely straight, the pelvis is under, and you are in Gongpo. You will see Gongpo employed in many different situations. It's quite important to understand that the weight is thrusting forward, even if you're not displacing in space. You'll have positions where you're here and pulling a bow in bow stance, and it's one of the most significant stances in what we do. Very important to understand this correctly. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Matthew Chesner, White Tiger Qigong instructor. Welcome to the White Tiger YouTube channel. Please enjoy the wide range of instructional videos that we have to share with you. If you like this video, click like. If you wish to subscribe, please subscribe. And if you have comments, we welcome your comments below. And last and not least, please don't forget to go to visit our website, www.whitetigerqigong.com. Thanks.